Good evening, everyone. This is Sanish Babu TK. I'm joining in from Dubai. The time is 5:10 p.m. in Dubai, and we are starting yet another episode of eBookery Show English. We have completed 26 episodes of eBookery Show English, and today we are in the 27th episode. And I welcome you, everyone, to this humble family of ours that we have started to share knowledge and experiences and give the knowledge of books to a lot of audience who are joining us every week all across from India, Europe, and the Americas as well. Let me just take you through the slides, which will give you more detailed explanation about what eBookery Show is all about. I believe all of you can see my screen. Yeah. So Empowerment Talks eBookery Show is an online Zoom club for storytelling and book review. We have book clubs in English, Malayalam, and Tamil. Malayalam and Tamil is conducted on Fridays and Saturdays, and English clubs are conducted at this time every Saturday. And we have been doing this continuously for 27 weeks. It's an online platform to bring out your favorite authors and their perspectives in making. So, this is the team. eBookery Show was founded by Faisal Ibrahim and Anil Thomas, who are both in our meeting today. And we have a lot of brilliant coordinators from India, Bahrain. Let me, yeah. And these are our past episodes. We have started off with the book, The Business of 21st Century and the Zahir. And after that, we had a lot of authors, a lot of speakers from Toastmasters, a lot of coaches coming in and giving in their insights about life, about health, about all parts of life. Books written in all genders. We usually do two books a day, two books a week, one fiction and one non-fiction. So these are all our previous chapters, and this is how our agenda looks like. We have a very structured agenda. We start with networking, which is already done. We have the first speaker introduction, then we go to the first speaker, the audience. We have brought a little bit change. I have pushed the story a little uh, ahead because we have a different storyteller today who is also a part of eBookery show and was also a speaker here. And for the story time, I would like to invite Mrs. Sindhu Balagopal. She's a teacher by profession and she has amazing insights and knowledge about various walks of life. And she is going to tell us all a story today to start with. Over to you, Sindhu, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanish.
Thank you.
Hi, all. So today's story, I would like to tell you something about something connected to the books we are having reviewed today. So once upon a time, Sanish, can you please remove that slide?
Okay, just a minute. Yeah.
Thank you. So once upon a time, there was a king who ordered his two sons to build two large aqueducts of water supply to supply water to his country estates. And he asked his sons to go around. Uh, the country was in a very poor state due to a great drought, and he asked his two sons to go around and come back within a limited time, building all those aqueducts. So the first son took the help of his army and took all the riches of his father and went away to the north side. And he hired many people to do the work. He oversaw the work carefully and paid the villagers fairly and finished the project within 2 years and came back. He actually ordered all those people to do so. He finished, completed very, very accurately, and he was proud of his work, and he returned to his country. And he found that the celebrations were going on in the palace for his brother who returned as a king, because he was told that this brother has completed his work within 1 year. And it seemed so strange to him. So he went around investigating what happened. He did his work perfectly, but his brother took all the credit. So he went around investigating that, and he found a few irregularities. So he went back to his father and asked him, "Why? Why are you celebrating like this? This mad, you have to stop this madness because I found some irregularities with that." So his father asked him, "What happened? Is there something I did not know about this?" So he told him, the son told his father, the king, "Okay, my brother did everything, but he has dragged our country's name into dirt. He created so many outlets that only half the water is entering, and he has not paid the villagers at all. Plus, he confronted the prime minister for something. That is why he created all these troubles. And then why are you making him king?" So the king replied, "Yes, I know that you love your brother very much. But because of all these things, you have some trouble in accepting him. But I'll tell the story in a different way. Your brother took a very strange and different initiative to build these aqueducts and to improve it. The wisdom he has shown in this is remarkable because he convinced the villagers to work without any pay, because he motivated them. He motivated his own villagers to work without any pay. Plus, he had the courage to confront the prime minister when something happened out of control, only to defend justice. And the charisma he had to get the soldiers or the villagers to work, the motivation he gave was more valuable to the villagers than the payment anybody could give. So the commitment was so great that within 1 year he could complete all the work. So the moral is that the leader should be able to extract work from the team, from his team, just by motivating them. He should make them do the work as if they love to do it. So that is a story I have for you today. Thank you, Sanish, and over to now, I think, for the introduction of the first speaker, let me hand it over to Mr. Anil. Anil, please take over.
Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you, Sanish. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay. Nice to see you all again on this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anil Thomas. Those who don't know me, I'm part of the Bookery team. I'm so excited to be here this evening and to have the opportunity to introduce our guest speakers, Nisha Shivram and Michael Werder, two distinguished individuals engaged in human empowering activities. Nisha is a TEDx speaker, founder of Speak and Shine, and conducting online talk shows. She's a distinguished talk master, certified trainer. Interestingly, Nisha is rated as one of the top 28 speakers in the world by Toastmasters International after being placed second in the regional quarterfinals of the World Championship of Public Speaking. She's going to unfold one of the all-time best book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a guide to spiritual enlightenment and intended to be a guide for day-to-day living, and stresses the importance of living in the present moment and transcending thoughts of the past or future. Published in the late 1990s, the book was recommended by people like Oprah Winfrey and has been translated into almost 30 languages. As of 2000, it was estimated that 3 million copies had been sold in North America alone. Friends, help me in welcoming young leader Nisha Shiva. Welcome, Nisha.
Friends, philosophers, bookworms here, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Nisha.
Beauty lies in the presence of stillness. I didn't say that. The author Eckhart Tolle said in his book, The Power of Now. Now, this book had been lying on my shelf for a long, long time, and I came to know about this book around 2 years ago when my friend mentioned that there is a life-changing book available in the bookstore and you should go and read it. Well, I brought it, but I had absolutely no idea, no interest in reading it because it was all about consciousness and, living in the present moment. And I thought that what would I do with this guide of spiritual enlightenment? But then I completed a course in neuro linguistic programming, and I thought that after completing that course, I realized that I have got a book that I need to read and understand neuro linguistic in a better way. And that is the reason why I started reading this book, The Power of Now. Now, Oprah Winfrey says that this book can transform your thinking. Well, before I get into the review of this particular book, let me talk a little about the author. Eckhart Tolle was born in Germany and now he resides in Canada. And he is a spiritual teacher, very famous best-selling author. Until the age of 29, he was in depression. So at the age of 29, he got some internal transformation and he decided to wander all around the world to become a spiritual teacher. Now, he started writing this book, which is his first book, in the year 1997. And this book became the best-selling book in the New York Best Time Seller list in the year 2000. This book has got 10 chapters and around the one that I have has got around 192 pages. Now, why is this book special? The very first chapter of this book and what caught my attention is the story of a beggar. Now, this beggar was sitting on a box, a huge box on a street, asking for money. So one day a man went to him and said, see, I don't have any money to give to you, but I have a question. What is there in that box? So this beggar says that, oh, I don't know. I've been sitting here for a long time. I don't know what is there in the box. So the man says, why don't you just open it and check it? So the beggar opens the box and realizes and sees that there is immense treasure in the box. So in this book, the author has compared all of us to that beggar. He says that we all are just like that beggar, looking outside, seeking happiness, joy, pleasure in some other people, places, or things, wherein all we need to do is just look within us to find this happiness and joy. And in order to do that, we need to stop thinking. Yes, he says we need to stop thinking. We need to observe our thoughts, which means we need to see what kind of thought patterns do we have without being judgmental about it. So when the author says without being judgmental, he means that we may have thousands of thoughts, some good thoughts or bad thoughts, negative, positive. We shouldn't be worrying about the kind of thoughts that we are having. We just have to observe those thoughts. And in that process, we will become somebody who is not into thinking. Now, this particular book revolves around that core message, that beauty lies in the stillness of the presence. That means if we are present in the current moment without thinking much about the past and getting anxious about the future, that means we are slowly transforming our thinking pattern. The author has tried to use the language that is very neutral. At times he has used some scientific terms, some terms related to mind and neurology, but otherwise the language is very simple and easy to understand. In most of the chapters you will find words like presence, consciousness, conscience, mind. So these kind of words are often repeated in the book. Now, one thing that I liked in this book is the question and answer format. So if you read this book, you will not find many stories or examples. What you will find are certain questions. And when you will read those questions, you will realize that, oh, this is exactly what I wanted to ask. And ultimately you will find the answer to the question you have. So there are questions like, why should I be involved in the present moment? Okay, because we as normal human beings, we have this tendency to think a lot about our future, we think a lot about our past. So why should I be worried about being in the present? And to that the author very beautifully answers that mind is a tool, and just like any other tool, be it a paintbrush, a pen, or a pencil, we need to use it to our benefit, not to become a slave of our mind. We become a slave of our mind when we get into thinking. And in this book, he has very clearly mentioned that we all are into compulsive thinking, which means we are thinking compulsorily. We think we have this notion within us that we need to think all the time. And if you observe your thoughts, you will realize that every day you are getting the same thoughts. Same thoughts. Those thoughts were there yesterday, those thoughts will be there tomorrow. And to let you know that these thoughts are just useless thoughts. They have absolutely no relevance or no use anywhere. So unless and until you observe these thoughts without being judgmental about it, you will not be able to enjoy the present moment. And the next core message that he is stressing upon is, whatever is there in your hand right now, finish that task without getting worried about what you're going to do next. And that is the main problem that we all have. While I'm talking to you, while you're listening to me, your mind is still wandering about things that you need to do the next moment, maybe tomorrow, or with your children's studies or your household work. You are still worried and you're still thinking. And that is why many of you right here, out of 36 people right here, will not be able to understand the concept of this book. Even when you read this book, you need to be away from those mindless, thoughtless thoughts that you're getting and be involved in reading the book. And that is the power of now. That is the power of being present in the current moment. As I said, that the language used is very simple. It is in the question and answer format. Now, one question which I had in my mind, which you also might ask me, that will it benefit me? Now, let me tell you that, as a reader, it depends on various factors, whether you will enjoy reading this book or whether you will be benefited from this book. Because since I was a student of neuro-linguistic programming course, I could enjoy reading this book. I could understand certain concepts and the messages. It may not be, necessary that everybody would understand it to the point what author is trying to say. But I would still suggest that go and read this book, because there you will understand the importance of the present moment. There you will understand the thought patterns that we have and how useless those thought patterns are. See, our mind, as per the author, as per Eckhart Tolle, our mind is actually conditioned with the past beliefs, traditions, and customs that we have been following. And that is how our mind looks at things. So in order for our mind to have a different perspective or look at the world with an unfiltered unfiltered uh, parameter, we need to have those thoughts away from our mind. So this is what the book is all about. It is indeed a guide to spiritual enlightenment. So if anybody who is a lover of spiritual studies or spirituality should definitely go for this book. It's a very small book and you can read it in probably in 1 or 2 hours, only if you are present in reading the book and not in thinking something else. Then only you will be able to enjoy the power of now. Now, coming back to certain important things that I had noticed in this book, that the author has tried to incorporate the teachings of Buddhism, Hindu philosophy, and Christianity in this book. So he has tried to take teachings from all these different philosophy and put it there without being judgmental about whether this is right or wrong. And he has taken only those teachings which he believed is connected to our consciousness, is connected to our thought patterns, is connected to our awareness of our thoughts and awareness of our, the way our mind works. And one line that I had noticed here, and I would like to read it out, it is on page number N25, wherein the author says, and he quotes Buddha when he says that the pain or suffering arises through desire or craving, and that to be free of pain, we need to cut the bonds of desire. And those desires happen when we think a lot, when our mind is involved in thoughtless thoughts or mindless thoughts. So this is all about the power of now. I would suggest that once you should try this book and read it out page by page and understand what Eckhart Tolle was trying to say. And I'm not surprised when Oprah Winfrey said that, it can transform your thinking. It indeed does. Because after reading this book, I tried to free my mind of all those past thoughts and the anxiety of future. Well, I was not successful in that because it is a difficult task. As I said, that we are into compulsive thinking, and it is indeed a difficult task. But with practice, probably I may be, successful in getting into a proper, thoughtful pattern. So it may give you more joy right at the moment. So this was all about the power of now. And remember that mind is a tool. So use it like a tool and not become a slave of your mind with the kind of thinking that you're doing right now. With that, let me hand the control back to Anil Thomas. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Nisha.
Thank you, Nisha.
Your storytelling abilities, your amazing book review. This has got to be a book that we all need to finish it in 2020. We all need to read it. And the things that you spoke about, spirituality, mindfulness. Yes, spirituality, I always believed spirituality is when we are mindful about what we are doing, present in the right moment, rather than just closing our eyes and sitting and breathing for 10 or 12 hours. It's all about staying in the present and doing what we are doing appropriately. You rightly said
And
mind is a tool. Mind is a tool, and we have to use it to our benefit. Even the same thing was told to us by a speaker in the morning. We use a mind so much that we all become a product. We should realize that we are not a product but a process of continuous change. With that, I would invite more people to give their insights about the sharing that Nisha has did now. Who would want to go?
Nisha, your histrionics, the way you deliver the speech, your gestures, the stress you give to each sentence, it is very good. And there is a poem by Pablo Neruda about keeping quiet. So in that, the last stanza is about perhaps the earth can teach us what silence, as and when everything seems dead, and later proves to be alive. So we have to take the example from earth to keep silence, because when winter comes, can spring be far behind? That is a message that Pablo Neruda gives, and that is about the same message that you gave through the book, that we have to keep silent in our brains, in our minds, to rejuvenate ourselves. Thank you so much. And
Thank you,
others,
Shakti ma'am.
please.
Yeah, we would invite, please, you can raise your hands. Anyone who would want to give a insight about the book?
I think
I
Faiz
can
has
see
raised his
Mr.
hands here.
Gangadhar. Yeah, I would just.
Okay.
I've sent a prompt to Mr. Gangadhar. If you could. Yeah.
I think this, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Fantastic. I think this is a fantastic message which requires to be reiterated over and over again by various authors and people. The basic philosophy of try and be silent, try and be here now, because that's the problem the human has. He's always in the future or the past, but never here. And that was very well put by the author and very beautifully narrated, very effectively narrated, and very emphatically told by Anisha. So I think the message is pretty strong, and this is a book like of a self-help. And if everybody should probably get their hands at it and read it, probably keep it and reread it, because one reading may not be sufficient if you want self-help. You're not going to do or pass something. You're going to do something for your own improvement. And as you rightly said, it's a continuous process. So you have to probably reread it many times to understand and get the maximum out of a book. That's my thoughts as I heard it. I give the controls back to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Gangadhar. Thank you for your insight sharing. Now we will quickly go on to the next speaker to review the second book, and we will come back again for more insights for the book after the second speaker is done. Over to you, Anilata, again to invite a second speaker.
Thank you, Sanish. Now, how can I introduce my second speaker, such a powerful man? He's young and in early 72. Today's my second speaker is Michael Werder from Russia, very busy international speaker, author of book Leader of Change, leadership trainer, person, based in St. Petersburg, Russia, currently consulting and training many different companies for leadership of implementation of lean manufacturing techniques, developed Russian training materials and simulations for value stream mapping, introduction to lean basics, lean leadership, lean assessments, and rapid movement processes. Past senior advisor and trainer to October Railways, lean director and lean director general, trained over 130 lean experts, now working in various Russian companies over the last 9 years, who are saving millions for their companies. Trained more than 2,500 Russian managers and engineers in public classes in 42 different cities in Russia alone. Author of the first modern lean tools book in Russia in 2004. Author of first lean assessment book in Russia 2001. Author of leadership skills book in Russia in 2014. With all respect, let me introduce Michael Werder onto eBookery platform.
Thank you very, very much, Anil. I'm not sure everybody wanted to hear all those details, but thank you very, very much for the introduction. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and I'm hoping you're having a great day, because I sure am. I'm here with you, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my book and a little bit about what I think about leadership. It was Einstein who said, if you cannot explain something simply, You don't know it well enough. And I agree with him. The book that you're looking at on the screen there, excuse me, looking at on the screen, Leader of Change, that book was first written in 2007. Excuse me, I need to get something from my throat. 1 second. I'm sorry. 1 second. I apologize. I'm sorry. But that book was written originally in 2007, and it looks something like this. And it was also printed in India in 2007 under a different title, a book that was called Your Attitude Determines Your Altitude. And when I decided to write this book, I sat back and I asked myself, who's going to read it? Why am I writing this book? I wrote the book because I wanted to get my message out, but I had to think about my audience. And I think that's what a lot of authors don't do. This book was written at an 8th grade education. 8th, not 9, 10, not high school, not college, not an engineering book. It was written at 8th grade education because we needed people to read it very simply and understand it. You may not know some of the figures in America, and I certainly don't know all of them in India, even though I worked there for a few years. In America, more than 1,000 young, qualified, super efficient technicians are promoted into a leadership position almost every day. And these competent technicians turn into a Darth Vader villainistic manager, and it's not their fault. Why do these technicians with so many skills turn out to be terrible managers? Well, after investigating some of it and asking people all over the world about it, and I find this in almost every country, we promote people until they become incompetent. We take our best technician, make him a manager. We take our best manager, make him a supervisor. We take our best supervisor and make him a director. We keep promoting people until they become incompetent. And then we want to know, why did they fail? One of the main reasons is they don't get training. How many companies take the time to train the person to go to the next level and the next level? We just normally assume, well, he was a great technician, he's going to be a good supervisor. He was a great supervisor, he's going to be a great director. Not without training, not without learning something new, not without growing their skills. And this is something that we have to think about. So the book that you see on the screen, I have now published again under a new name just this past year in 2020. It's called Leader of Change. Right now it's an ebook. At the end of the year, it's going to be in a hardback book that will be available. But I wanted to send it out and get feedback from people who I've been working with for many, many years. And the feedback I got from them was relatively positive. Now, they wanted me to include a whole lot more. And if I did, the book wouldn't only be 200 pages, it would be 400 or 500 pages. And that's not possible. So I tried to get the principles down to very succinct, definite actions that people can take as a leader. You see, as a leader, you're going to be going through some progressions. First, we have to look at you, and that's where the book starts. Looking at you, the individual person. What are your habits? We heard the previous speaker talk a little bit about, thinking about our habits, what we really do. And as leaders at work, most people don't realize what they really do. They don't look in that mirror. You have to sit down, get the mirror, look in it, and realize who you are and what you're doing. And if you want to be a good leader, that's where it has to start, you. And then we have to go from the point where you got habits, you're going to have to be competitive. If you want to be a good leader, you want to move up in the ranks, you're going to have to be competitive. You're going to have to find out what skills do you not have that somebody else has. Nobody is born with all these skills. People often ask me, Michael, are leaders born? Some great leaders, they're born that way. I don't believe that. I believe that all of us, when we came out of our mother's womb, were equal. And based on where we lived, who our parents were, who our teachers were, what experiences we have as we are young, we develop into leaders, some fast, some slow. Some never, because they don't get those experiences. But you can get those experiences. You can learn those skills. Leadership is a teachable, learnable skill, but it takes an awful lot of work. It is not easy. So the book, when I was writing it, I decided I'm going to start with my own story and then go forward. And for me, it was very easy. I was in the military. I was a terrible, terrible supervisor. I was really a mean guy. Nobody wanted to work for me. I didn't know why. I figured, we were getting planes in the air, our missions were going, everything was fine, everything great. I didn't realize how miserable the workers were. I was a terrible, terrible leader. They threatened to kill me one day, literally threatened to kill me. Big shock to me, opened my eyes. I went home and thought about it for about 8 hours. 2 days later, a significant emotional event occurred for me. I went to work as the same bad leader, and the general calls me in and he says, Michael, one of your men is in the barracks, sitting on a bed, a bandana around his head, and that's all he's wearing. And he has a shotgun and he's threatening to commit suicide. He said, he works for you. You get in there and you persuade him not to do it. I never cared about people. Never. I never cared if somebody had a family or had a job or not. Do your work. That's all I cared about. So I had to go in that room and do something different. I went in there and I was very, very quiet. I listened for the first time in my life to the workers, pour out his soul, talk to me, tell me what he thought was going on, why he felt the way he felt. And then I had to change my thinking and become empathetic. I had to think about what he was saying and how I would feel if I was in his shoes. So then I had to start agreeing with him to get on his side and get him to understand me. That changed my entire life. That situation turned out well. We got the young man out, we got him some help, and he went on to a continuous career. I changed my life. I started reading more. I started getting involved with people, and I learned something very, very significant. And it's the basis of what this book is written about. If you are the leader, don't worry about production. Don't worry about getting products out the door. Don't worry about answering customer complaints. Don't worry about all those things. If you're the leader, you worry about the people and take care of the people. If you take care of the people will take care of the process. Change your focus as a leader. That's why I call this book The Leader of Change. As a leader, your boss above you says, production's not getting out the door, the customers are complaining, we're behind schedule. Who cares? Don't care about those things. I know your director does because he's not a good leader, but you don't have to. What you need to care about is your people. Are you giving your people a good place to work? Are you giving them the right tools? Are you giving them the correct training? If you are doing those things, if they know you really, really care, they will respond and everything will be fine. All those processes, all that work, all those complaints will all be handled by the people who actually do it. So in this book, I talk about first, what do you have to do as a leader to change? And then I talk about what you're going to do to motivate other people to change. How are you going to motivate them? What do you need to explain to them? If we're companies going to make some changes, and I know that's going to happen a lot here this time of the year, and I know that especially in this pandemic situation, things have changed so very, very much. We need to understand how that change affects us first, and then sit down with our workers and talk about that. If it's a strain on me, it's a strain on them. If the pressure's on me, the pressure's on them. I have to talk to them and get them to understand that it's affecting me too. In the book, I talk about how to bring that team together, how to look for the unofficial leader. If you're the director or you're the manager and you got a team below you, in that team, there's going to be at least one, maybe two unofficial leaders who the rest of the members look for. Find out who that is. Find out how you can help that person grow, because you need that next leader below you to grow up. And you need to know how to teach them to grow up. It's a little bit scary as a leader when you take your deputy, your number two, and you teach them to be just as good as you. That's what you want. You want them to be just as good as you. Because someday you're going to either leave the company or you're going to move up. And when you do, you want things to continue to run right. So it's important that you're teaching them, you're training them, you're giving them opportunities to succeed and opportunities to fail. If you don't delegate some of these responsibilities, if you try to keep everything, nobody's going to grow and you're going to work awfully hard. As a leader, give a few of your responsibilities away to somebody below you. Let them try to handle it for a week or a month to see how they do. If they fail, give them some more training, give them some coaching, help them. If they succeed at it, mark that off your list. This person can do that task. It's going to make your job as a leader a whole lot better. And there's a sidebar, a good sidebar to this. If you're a leader and the people below you are all succeeding, and there's a director above you, what that director think about you? If all your people are producing what they're supposed to, they're succeeding and advancing, and you're the one who's trained them, it's going to make you look awfully, awfully good. So take care of those people. While you're taking care of those people, there are many things to do. You have to plan agendas. You have to learn how to listen to them. You have to learn how to talk to them. And there are chapters in the book on each one of those individual steps. It's only after you realize that your workers are not robots, but people, that we really start to listen to them. I'll just give you one short example from one of the chapters about listening. When we listen to people, there are 4 steps, and people get it wrong all the time. You're the leader, you've gone to the shop floor, or you've gone to the office, you've asked a question. After you ask the question, what do you need to do? You need to zip up your mouth and keep it shut. Give the worker a chance to answer you. We all know people at work who are constantly interrupting us when we're trying to talk to them. That's not somebody you want to be a leader. You ask a question and then you're quiet. And while you're being quiet and they're answering you, second step, maintain eye-to-eye contact. Don't be on that cell phone. You're on the phone or on your computer while they are answering you. That's very, very rude. That's not how you treat a human. You wouldn't want to be treated that way, so don't treat them that way. The third step, take a few notes. It doesn't have to be complicated. Don't have to get every word. Take just a few notes, either electronically or on paper. And when you go back to your office, review those notes so that you understand what you were told. And then the fourth thing, this is the one so many people forget. You just went to the shop floor, asked a difficult question, and you got the answer you needed. Did you tell that person, thank you? I appreciate you helping me. I appreciate you helping the company. Thank you for answering. Be sure you say thank you for what they give you. That's just one example of something that is in the book. And there are many, many, many different techniques of motivating people, listening to people, talking to people, planning schedules, getting through projects, how you manage a project. And with each chapter in the book, at the end of it, I have put at least 3 action items that I suggest you do. As you go through the book, this is not a one-time read. I suggest you do read the whole thing first, but then go back and pick those chapters that you need. This book is not going to make everybody a great leader. We know that. But there are some tidbits in here, some small pieces that might help you get over a hurdle that you're facing in trying to motivate somebody or trying to get somebody to improve their performance. These are all in this book. And again, it's written at a very, very basic level. So it's very, very simple to understand. There is no point in writing a book that is so complicated that it's going to take 16 readings in order to understand it. Or to write a book and after they get halfway through, they throw it aside. I know the rest of that. I don't need it. That's not going to help you and it's not going to help them. It's something that you can go through. You don't have to read the second time all the way through. Pick the chapter that pertains to you. If you don't know how to have a good meeting, there's a chapter on meeting. Just go read that one chapter. If you don't know how to plan a project, just go read that piece. If you don't know how to motivate somebody, just go read that piece. That's what I would recommend for you. You see, this book also has an ending, and the ending is quite different. All the way back in 2001, I developed something that's called a personal, professional, strategic plan. We know companies and organizations make strategic plans all the time. And I was helping some people do that. And I thought, well, what about a personal strategic plan? Do I, as an individual, have a plan for the next 3 years or the next 1 year or even the next 3 weeks? Do I have a plan as to what I'm going to do? Can I build a plan for my success? And one of the things that I often ask executives or somebody just below the executive level, I ask them, what is your job title today? I could ask all of you the same question. Just think about it. What is your job title today? You got that in your mind, your job title? Now the next question, what's going to be your job title 3 years from now? Is it going to be the same or going to be different? If you have one job title and 3 years from now you want a different job title, how are you going to get there? Do you have a plan? If your plan is not simple so you can explain it, as Einstein said, then you don't understand it. Your plan is too complicated. Sit down, make yourself a simple plan. The last part of this book is an appendix with that personal, professional, strategic plan in the book. And it will walk you through answering some critical questions about what your strengths are, your weaknesses, what your opportunities are, and how you're going to grow yourself. It's about you helping you. You need to be stronger. We need good leaders today, and there's not enough of them. And I'll finish this on a very short story. The book I said that was out earlier, the same book, but several years ago when I wrote it with a different name, had a picture on the front of it, a picture of mountains. The mountains are important, and I use this in all of my live performances. Where I lived in the United States, we're 2,500 meters above sea level. There's a big lake up there that's in the picture, 2,500 meters above sea level. There's 52 mountains in my state that are above 4,000 meters. So it's high altitude. So we don't have a lot of oxygen there. And because we don't have a lot of oxygen there, the U.S. Olympic Training Center was in my city, Colorado Springs in the United States. And athletes from all over the world, including India and Bahrain and other places, come to Colorado Springs to practice their sport. Because if they can perform their sport at a high level with low oxygen, when they come back down here closer to sea level, they're going to have a lot more capability and be much better. They're going to be much more successful as an athlete. So people say, oh, Michael, we know your secret now. Your secret is here, you got all this oxygen. You're not used to that. So here with all the extra oxygen, the altitude determines your attitude. They got it exactly backwards. It is your attitude that determines your altitude. If you read this book or any other book, if you go to any training class, go anywhere to learn to be a better leader, and if you leave that class and you don't have a positive attitude when you go back to work, no one's going to want to be on your team. No one's going to want to help you. No one's going to want to support your ideas. No one's going to do that because of your negative attitude. But if you try a few of these things, and if you have a positive attitude, they may not all work, but some of them will work. People want to follow a leader with a positive attitude. They don't want to follow a leader with a negative attitude. If you think about having a positive attitude and you learn a few things and try them with a positive attitude, you will succeed and you can go as high in your company or be as successful in life as you want to be. Your attitude determines your altitude. It's something that we have to think about. And right now, I know with the pandemic and so many things, a lot of people are in a negative attitude. So how can you help people get out of that negative attitude? Smile. Smile more. And if you got 2 smiles, take one and share it with somebody because somebody else needs your smile. As a leader, you need to be positive and you need to smile more. You do that, apply some of these techniques, and I'm sure you're going to be very, very successful. So I'm going to leave you with this closing comment. The whole thing that I talk about today, the thing I want you to remember the most as a leader, if you take care of the people will take care of the process. Thank you, Mr. Commentator. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. This was just amazing. Your positive attitude will determine your altitude. There are a lot of learnings for any person who is a leader or anyone who is aspiring to be a leader. There are a lot of insights that you have shared. I am very sure everyone would have taken notes of it already. So I don't want to go back and explain it again. Uh, I have seen 2 people who have raised their hands. One is Mr. Muhammad Marcos and other is Faiz. I will unmute Muhammad Marcos first to share the insight. I've sent you a prompt, Mr. Marcos. If you could accept the prompt. Um, I've also sent a prompt to
Nish, maybe
Mr.
he can
Faiz.
come back later, some
Yeah,
other.
I have also tried unmuting Faiz. Yeah, Faiz is unmuted now. Hello, Faiz.
Yes, hello. Good evening.
Go ahead.
And special thanks to Anil Thomas, who is my friend invited for this particular session. I was actually about to talk about the first book, The Power of Now. Ruchu, I have read this book actually, a couple of times. It is very difficult to understand what is actually have been discussed in that particular book. And even I listened that book, that is something, it was so interesting book for me. And even a person who read this book couple of times have something to get from that review. That is the success of that, the reviewer. So I salute Madam Nisha for such a wonderful presentation. And, I've still got a lot of new ideas or new takeaways from the book. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Faiz. Thank you for your insight. Who wants to go next? Mr. Suresh. Mr. Suresh is a volunteer and he has been keenly waiting for Mr. Michael to come and present the book. I would love to hear from Mr. Suresh. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sanish. I'm indeed extremely happy and delighted to be a silent observer of these two wonderful talk. First, I appreciate Sanish for his humble voice and relaxed coordination. And very interestingly, I heard Sindhu ma'am's story. And though she doesn't have the age of my mom, I thought about my mom because she used to always tell me stories almost every night. Even after my marriage, I used to go to her for a story. When we were at a distant place, I used to call and ask for a story. Then I'll go to bed. So I could only see my mom in Sindhu ma'am's beautiful face. And when we come to Nisha, and yeah, Nisha, I mean, there's no wonder, Nisha, that since you are from NLP, all the wonderful qualities you really, it originates from there. And it's a very tough job. I was thinking how you are going to present this because I read this book. Having read a few spiritual books, and most of the time I spend in reading spiritual books, I could be able to get the idea of this book. And he got all whatever he speaks in each and every word. It's a conceptual. Each and every word is a conceptual. Such a wonderful book you have presented. Very beautifully you have presented, Nisha. My good wishes. And now your rank is somewhere 28th or somewhere in the international standard. And you take it from me in the very shortest time, you'll become number 1. And we will be very proud of you. And we are already very happy and proud of you. When you become number 1, we would be ever happy about you. All the good wishes. And instead of looking happiness outside, we have to there is happiness, hidden happiness in our own mind, heart, and soul. Once we realize that oneness, the entire spirituality can be put in one word called oneness. I can see God in, when I say that I can see God in everyone. When I say that the entire universe is one single soul, and we are all part of it, we could always see the divinity in that beautiful philosophy. Now, coming back to my boss, I would just please allow me, Mr. Michael. Let me address you as boss with all respects and humble and sincerity. I'm your fan, and I used to see many of your videos, and in fact, I have by hearted your most powerful points of asking for help is a sign of strength. Never ask someone to do something you are not willing to do yourself. Continuously ask good questions and know how to listen. Insist on having current data before helping someone solve a problem. Look for opportunities to recognize and reward people for good performance. Respected boss, I am using this mantras, these strategies in my almost everyday life, particularly official life. And let me tell into your ears that I am applying this with my wife also. I am always encouraging her. And after hearing your messages, couple of, I think I don't know when, I started treating my wife as my friend. So there was no need for looking into other part of the world for one more friend in my life when I have a wonderful wife as my friend in my home. So you have not only professionally helped me, you have helped me great in my personal life too. And when I'm very in my diary, I have noted your vision and mission. Your vision is to inspire and motivate positive changes in the leaders and organizations. But your mission says to provide training and coaching to international leaders and organizations to improve their competitive advantages. And very interestingly, I see the power of this natural power. You see, all of a sudden today morning, Mr. Anil called me. I was too busy. He messaged me, asked me, Suresh, is it possible for you to give a closing speech for today's program? And to be very frank, we had a wonderful session yesterday in Malayalam, and I was in that intoxication. And later only, after Mr. Anil's information, only I came to know that you are coming to our stage as a special speaker. And it is so delighted. And I never told Mr. Anil that I'm following you. I'm an ardent follower and fan of your speeches because greatly it has helped my official and personal life. Hats off to you, boss. We all of us are being highly honored by your kind acceptance of coming here and blessing us. Because you are not only elder, but you are highly qualified, and international leaders are respecting you with all the tons of gratitude. They respect you, and today it's not enough that you came once and gone, and we expect you to continue to bless our this institution which Mr. Anil and Fias has initiated, and wonderfully these programs are being conducted. And whatever you said, very big, you may say that this is very elementary, and all of a sudden it is not going to make you a leader and all. But I would say that shows how meek and modesty you are. But I would say this would be my management Bible. And almost every day, whenever I get the time, whenever there's a problem, I used to just rush to this book. And definitely, boss, I have solution for the problem. I don't know how it is something very mystic, in fact, very mystic. And I have solutions. I would say it's a dictionary where for all the problems, there's a solution. And how to talk, how to listen. Many a times you said after asking a good question, don't look at the mobile, and just watch. I make a eye-to-eye contact and listen to the replies. That is a honor. And end of the day, you say after this discussion is over, you should have the basic courtesy and gratitude to say a single word thanks with a smile. I think the list goes on because you started telling how to change myself, first of all, then how to motivate others and change, and how to listen, how to talk. Thinking of others will make a wonder in our life. And the moment I take care of others, the nature has to take care of me. And I found that the loving is a wonderful feel, and being loved is another feel of high bliss. And after listening to you, really, boss, I really started hugging my friends. Though the corona days are there, if someone does good job, I go and hug them and I give them a gift. And they love to see. In fact, they say, sir, whenever after you're joining in my organization, we started hating Sundays. They love to come on Sundays also. So all the credit goes to you. I thank God and thank Mr. Anil and entire team of our ET Group Bookery show for giving this wonderful opportunity to talk to you, sir, also through this program. And definitely in the days to come, I would be definitely meeting you. So tons and tons of thanks. From our Indian style, we would say a big namaste. We worship you, sir. We respect you, sir. Tons of thanks, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Handing over to Mr. Sanil.
And thank you very much for the commentary. I know it was long and you wanted to pour your heart out, and that is wonderful. And there's nothing, and I'm sure Nisha will agree with me, there's nothing more rewarding to a speaker than to get that kind of feedback and to know that when you put the hours, when you put the time writing the books, doing the research, doing all the work, and you get some feedback. Thank you very, very, very much for those comments. I really appreciate it. And I did spend 7 years in India working part-time, and it was some of the workers there who taught me to look in their eyes because they wouldn't speak. They were used to being told what to do. I would ask them a question, watch them until they finally got tired of me looking at them, and then they spoke, and they were surprised that I listened to them. So I did learn many things in India about being a better leader. So thank you very much for your comments. Can I make a comment on Nisha, please, about what she said? Can I make a comment? Nisha, I really enjoyed what you had to say, and I don't know if you caught it when I was speaking, but that day that they threatened to kill me and I went home and sat for 8 hours, my mind was blank. I didn't think hardly about anything. It was sort of like NLP, neuro-linguistic practices. I just sat there, and I think that book you're talking about is a book that I'm going to want to read in the future. But I went through that emotional experience to a very, 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 very low in myself, broke myself down to nothing. And then 2 days later, asked to help somebody who was going to commit suicide. It brought me back up. And I think that's what we're sort of talking about in that you were talking about in the book, to break yourself down and then take a very, very close look and build up. And I really enjoyed what you had to say. Thank you very much.
Let's go over to Sam. Sam, we have unmuted you.
Hi.
Hi.
Samir here.
Mr. Samir, how are you?
How are you?
Very good.
It's fantastic to actually listen to Nisha and Michael. I was working on something and that's why I couldn't switch on my camera before. The Power of Now has been a book just like how it was for Nisha sitting on my bookshelf for a long time. It has been still sitting on my bookshelf for a long time. I think the title should read now instead of The Power of Now. You know? So I should get to it. I've listened to it a couple of times, but I've not sat and read it. And I think the power of reading is so much more different than the power of listening to something, because we always listen to it in our distractions while doing something else. So what Nisha said really resonated with me, where she said, be mindful and be with the book and don't allow distractions be with you, especially when you're reading this particular book rather than any other book, because this is the power of now. And if you want to really get the message of that, then it has to be a fully focused one. So I've not read a book in a long time, in the sense I read bits and parts, but mostly I am into listening to audiobooks these days. So I think I will pick up The Power of Now for my first book to hold and read for moving forward. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And Michael, you were awesome. Thank you so much for your presence and the way that you engage and the way that you share. Your wisdom was truly profound. Grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sami, for the insight. Who else do we have for the insight sharing? I would quickly want to hear from Faisal, the reason why we are all sitting here and listening to each other and sharing the insight and knowledge. I am very sure that Faisal have loved this episode, listening to both of them. What's your take on this, Faisal? Go ahead.
Oh, great show. Thank you so much, Nisha. And it's been some time I'm hearing about Nisha, and yeah, it is great support you have given to us today. I was on walking, and when I came back, I've seen this energy. It was really great. And Michael, you are a bundle of energy, and giving a lot of strength to us to lead this journey. And thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And I look forward you come back again and be with us whenever it's possible. And we just started to just support the community, and I felt like it is great, going great, and every single day. And yeah, thanks for being with us today, and thank you everyone, each one of you being part of this journey. And I'm truly honored and acknowledge you all for being this journey. Thank you, Sanish, for the excellent hosting, and Sindhu ma'am for your kind introduction and the way you started, and Anil sir for sure for being part of this foundation of this whole process and making us to run every single week. Yeah, so I just started, but the rest of the things is done by Anil sir, so all the credit goes to him, not really me. And Sanish and Niaz and Vinisha and yeah, Badru and Niaz, few of them are really working hard to run this show every single week. So you are really the heroes of this whole process. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, and looking forward to meet you next week. And over to you, Sanish.
Thank you, Faisal. You've always been an inspiration to everyone. I can see Major Narayanan here. He has been with eBookery right from the day one, with every episode, listening to all our insight sharing and giving his valuable insights about the book and about his own experiences. Over to you, Major Narayanan. I have sent you a prompt. I've sent you a prompt. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Sanish. Attending Bookery has been my passion, rather an obsession, I should say. I've been continuing the journey. Like I started with the Tamil 5 a.m. Rajamani is still there. So nicely crafted by Dr. Radha. Here I find Anil there, Sanish, our usual suspect. Niaz Ali is not there today. And attending this program has been sort of a homecoming for me. I meet a lot of known faces from various parts of the globe, like Sindhu is one. She's been very assiduously attending our programs. The energy that I saw in Nisha is simply palpable. She was moving from one subject to another, one chapter to another, with a lot of energy and enthusiasm.